Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for everyone who's watching the replay, and thank you for everyone who is following me on Instagram at Laquanda. So I want to get right into it tonight, and tonight I want to talk about self-care for women's health, everything that you need to know. Um, just a little background about myself. A lot of you know I have lived experience when it comes to mental health, but I'm also a mental health professional. I'm a life coach and a Reiki practitioner. So I do all these things that are integrated in terms of women's health. And I like to talk about these things because sometimes we have these conversations about self care and women's health when there's a crisis taking place or after a crisis has taken place. And these conversations really should have happen um, on a continuous basis. That means all the time. So I'm going to be implementing some of my self care routines as we talk and we just get into it. One thing about self care that I love to do is I love to do what's called or what I deem as an assessment of myself. And in this assessment of myself, I look at all the major areas of my life and I rate them um, from what is most important to me to the least. And I wouldn't complicate it by going 1 through 10, but you can just do 5 things and it's like, oh, out of these 5 things, what's important to you, and then rank them. Now, out of the things, set that aside, and then something else, you say, what is taking all of your energy? And in this aspect, you're looking for things that are draining you, things that are draining you. And it's important to know and assess the things that are draining you because if you know what's draining your energy, then you know how to redirect. You know how to develop a game plan so that you're able to manage not only your time but your emotional energy, your emotional and physical energy better. You have to think about your energy as if it is currency. You only have so much each day to give. And if you look at the list that we just talked about, if the things that you care about are not like are different from the things that are draining you, then there's a little bit of issue there. Now, obviously, you don't want the things that you care about draining you. However, if you're going to use your energy, why not use your energy towards things that mean a lot to you and have a purpose for you? So I would say in the beginning of any self-care process is do an inventory on the things that you care about and the things that are important to you, and then look at the things that are draining you. Now, this could be different for a lot of different people because sometimes what's draining you is another person. And we have to do hard, you know, audits of our lives and make difficult decisions sometimes if that is something that is taking place. So let's just knock out number one. Number one, just do an audit um, of yourself and the things that are important to you and the things that are draining you. That's number one. I always like to start with something tangible before I dwell into, okay, this whole aspect of self care. Number two is really look at what makes you smile. And there's a difference between the things that you really care about and the things that really make you smile. Um, because you can care about your job, but that side gig that you have, that side hustle that you have, that makes you smile and that brings you joy. So you want to pay attention to, what makes me smile? What am I doing when I'm smiling? One of the misconceptions about self care is that it becomes somewhat commercialized, and people think of self care as the spa day, the getting the nails done, the massages, and there's nothing wrong with that. But self care is so much more, and self care is very diverse. And so when you approach that, you have to approach it from a diverse perspective, and you have to make it fit for your life, because not always do you have the time to take a 2 weeks vacation when you're stressed out and you feel overwhelmed. So not only do you need to do what I suggest, that the self audit, but then look at the things that you can smile that smiles. Look at the smaller things. Downscale self care into something that is smaller. This is a perfect example. I used to work in emergency mental health, and during my shifts, we didn't have breaks, which means I could not leave. I had to, quote unquote, stay put. But for me, what I would do after a stressful call and I needed to de-escalate, I had created and brought to work a self-care kit. So this self care kit included things that, if it was like a favorite snack or something that would just take me away, a nice beverage, not alcoholic, but something that I would enjoy that would take me away for a moment. I was really big, and still big because I have them everywhere, into adult coloring. So I developed a on the go self care kit for myself that allowed me the opportunity to see about me on the go. Another thing that I became serious about were my playlist, and the type of music that I would listen to. And I look at, and this is another tip, look at how you respond to certain things. I know how I respond to certain music. When I am in a mood or a space where I need to be motivated, this may sound odd to some, but trap music is the music that gets me motivated and gets me going. Um, when I feel like I need some inspiration, then I'm listening to singing bowls, or I'm listening to tribal music. Those are the things that I know when I need to feel inspired, that helps me. When I need to de escalate from a situation, then I know that that I need to hear a motivational speech, because I need to hear positive words, because my mind is being flooded with negativity. So, positive words, and that's my dog. So those positive words really feed into me when I need to be be lifted up. The thing about self care that I'm going to have, I would tell each and every one of you, is that you have to make it a part of your routine. What I'm doing right now, one thing that I had got away from was doing videos. I was like, I don't want to do videos. I don't do hair videos anymore. But what I realized is that I enjoy actually coming on YouTube and speaking, and that was a part of my self care and wellness. Um, And so the things that you do normally are can usually be utilized as an aspect or avenue of self-care for yourself. And sometimes you have to look at, okay, why do I avoid doing the things that are helpful for me? And again, we're going to take this whole YouTube experience for me as an example. For me, some days I had a lot of energy and some days I didn't. What I realized is that I was not the most happy person in terms of editing content. And so I thought to myself, what is a way that I can still share on YouTube, but at the same time allow myself to still manage my energy effectively? And then I remembered I can always do live stream. So I began to prep and prepare. It's like, let me get another backdrop. Let me update my webcam. Let me do those things. Let me sit down and get ready for my day. Even though it is almost 8 p.m. where I'm located right now, I am still getting ready because I'm getting ready to do some work. And so I like to prepare myself to get work done by, getting dressed up. You have to be intentional when it comes to caring for yourself. I don't know how many times I can say that. I'll say it again. You have to be intentional when you are caring for yourself. The reason why you have to be intentional is because life is going to happen whether or not, you're prepared for it or not. It's going to happen. So if you're intentional about caring for yourself, and if you're intentional about finding avenues um, to support you, then it becomes a part of the routine and becomes a part of habits, and it allows you to keep moving when life happens. That's why when I started out this live stream, I was I was like, self care has to be something that you utilize beyond a crisis or after a crisis. It is so important. Self care is so key in prevention. Um, I am a individual. Last year, I had been diagnosed with high blood pressure, and so a part of my self care was I had to leave the job that I loved, but it was adding too much stress to me, so I had to leave that position. Another aspect of self care for me is that I had to be mindful of how I am treating my physical body, and so with that, I had to hire a trainer. If you follow me on Instagram, then you see my workout videos with my trainer. And so that is an aspect of wellness. I really had to work on, de escalating myself when I am stressed. I had to work on asking for assistance or telling people that I needed to vent. As women, we tend to take on a lot, well, not tend, but we take on a lot of responsibilities, but when we are in need of assistance, sometimes we don't always say things. And there is the other side of that. When we do say things, people don't always hear us because there's this thought that if we are able to carry on all these other motherhood, being a partner, or just being, a aunt, or being a sibling and a stellar employee or a business owner, then we should be able to handle all of our emotions as well. And that is not the case. We deserve and need support just like anyone else. And so a part of your wellness as you go through this self-care journey is asking for assistance. And if you don't get it that first time, keep asking. Um, you have to look at it from the perspective of, if I am looking for something, if you're on a search for let's just, if you're on a search for a certain type of car, and you go to one dealership and that dealership tells you, I'm sorry, we don't have it. Do you just say, oh well, if you really want it, you go to another dealership and you said, I'm sorry, we don't have it, and then you go to the next one, and you keep going until you get to that point and to that person who's going to support you in your care journey. Not everyone that you encounter and not everyone that you express yourself to is going to be supportive of you, and not everyone that you seek help from is going to offer you assistance that is effective for you. I had spoken in my last podcast, Who Told You Grinding Was a Bad Word? I spoke on that podcast that there was an inspirational speaker that I absolutely love. Whenever I am in a space, I listen to them. But some of the things that they say, I can't do. And although it sounds good, it is one of those situations where you got to pick the good and leave the rest, because every person who's speaking is not necessarily speaking to you. And I'm going to say that again. Every person who is speaking is not necessarily speaking to you. And so, with that is, you have to find the people and find the group who is speaking your language. And this is the thing, you want the people who are either speaking your current language or speaking the language that you're trying to get to. Because if you're on a path of evolution, as far as your care, as far as your career, as far as whatever journey it is, you want to either be speaking to the people who are currently speaking your language, or speaking to the people who are speaking the language that you want to get to. For example, if you're talking about, I want to lose weight, we're just using this as an example, I want to lose weight, then you can speak to the people who have lost weight, but you can also speak to the people who have already lost weight and are in the process of on that journey. I will always caution you. I will always caution you to about speaking to people who have not started speaking your language. And the reason why that I say that is, sometimes if you speak to the wrong person and they're stagnant, they may inadvertently and sometimes unconsciously attempt to get you to remain in that space, and that's not where you want to be. That's not where you want to be. So you want to make sure that if you are moving forward, that you're moving forward and that you're caring for yourself with like-minded people. With that being said, you know, self-care in and of itself seems easy on the surface. I will tell you from personal experience, self care also requires sacrifice at times. I was at a job I was excelling at, that I was very good at, but my body was starting to shut down on me. And so I had to sacrifice um, that. I had to sacrifice that job in order for me to be well. And I think that a lot of people like to talk about the glitz and the glam of when it comes to self-care, but they don't want to talk about the sacrifices that we sometimes have to make, because that also includes separating yourself from people who are not in the best interest of who you are. That loving from a distance or separating, you know, escorting someone out of your life politely, that is an aspect of self care too that doesn't always feel good. But you it doesn't always feel good, but that's an aspect of what happens when you're having to you know allow people or get people to understand that this is my space and I have to protect it. So there's this glimpse. Let me go get my nails done. Let me go on this trip. Let me go take care of all of these things. To make me feel good about myself. And then there's those things about self care that puts you in a space where you have to do deep reflection. And sometimes the separation that needs to take place in terms of self care is a separation from your old self and your new self. As you elevate, as you grow, certain thoughts, certain beliefs, certain practices, certain routines cannot go along with you. And that evolution of who you are depends upon your ability to release those old things. And releasing the old, which is comfortable for you, is not easy. But people don't want to talk about that aspect of self care. But it is self care when you are reviewing and you are talking and you are looking at self. You're looking at the things that you were not so successful on. You're looking at the toxic behaviors that you have. You're looking at how you treat people. Self care, as I stated, can be a beautiful thing, but self care is also work. It is also work. And it is a holistic journey. Caring for yourself isn't just about, oh, my spiritual wellness. It's also about my financial wellness. It's also about my emotional wellness. It's also about my physical wellness. It's also about my financial wellness. Those are the things that you have to look at when you're saying, I am going to care for myself. And when you say, I am going to care for myself, do you really mean it? Are you ready for that? You know, Are you ready for that? How can we find a people I love me? So, someone just asked, how can we go about finding people that speak our language? I love to meet. Let me tell you, one way that I have found people who spoke my language has been through, and this is going to be something that's really, really simple. That's really simple, and that is hashtags on Instagram. And I know it seems like what, but yes, I have met some awesome people, Black life coaches, Black Buddhists, people who were focused on spiritual wellness and health. You know, by looking at hashtags or look at certain videos on YouTube and then look at the comment section and see who's commenting and developing connections there. I have connections with women here on YouTube that I've never met in person, and so you have to look at don't knock Facebook groups, because that's another aspect of wellness that you can look into. So it's there are a multitude of ways to find your group, your people who speak your language. And for me, a lot of it has been based upon me just putting myself out there. I had to learn how to put myself out there in terms of, just saying my truth and speaking my story, and hoping that someone would hear me. And what I found is people heard me. When you are your authentic self, when you're your authentic self, the people who are meant to find you will find you. And I have learned that from the universe over and over and over again. So it is so important and so vital that when you are seeking out your group of people, that you utilize non-traditional methods to do so, because people will connect and you can see what they're into, and via social media, and ask them questions. Ask them, is there a group for a particular, the particular area that you're wanting to connect to, and join that group and have dialogues with people. Look for safe spaces for yourself. All these things are key and necessary when it comes to self care, because it goes beyond just spa day. And spa days are great. I need one. But self care is something that really can be fun, but it can also be work. And so when you're going on this journey, you have to first realize it is a journey. True self care is a journey, and when you're on it, it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be frustrating. And when you're on it, you're going to smile. And when you're on it, some days you're going to cry, because there should be an expansion. And when change happens, it makes you uncomfortable. And when you get uncomfortable, that's when you need to really look around and say, okay, I'm uncomfortable. That means I'm moving, I'm changing, I'm separating from the old. Oh, thank you so much. It's like I'm separating from the old. And so for myself, I had to start getting into positions where I became uncomfortable, and being okay, you know, everyone loved the hair videos, but that was my comfort zone. This is where I fit. This is where I thrive. When I'm talking about wellness for women, when I'm speaking about mental health, when I'm talking about wellness in general, when I'm talking about social justice, this is where I thrive. This is where I come alive. But I could not get to this point without caring for myself. And caring for yourself is something that is continuous and is ongoing, and it should evolve as you evolve. The way that I cared for myself 4 years ago is totally different than the way that I care for myself now. So as you grow, the ways that you care for yourself and that you pour into yourself should grow as well. So that is, I'm going to wrap up. I'm trying to keep it under 30 minutes, but I'm going to wrap up for tonight. Thank you all. Be sure to check out any of my articles about self care at laquanda.com. And also, you can follow me at Laquanda on Instagram. I'm going to try my best to do these because I'm finding I really enjoy these live streams. I'm going to try to do these a couple of times a week, at least 3 times a week. So if you ever have something that you want me to expand upon, just leave me a message on IG. You can DM me on IG, or just leave a comment in the comment section, and I will discuss it next time. So until next time, thanks everyone for watching. I appreciate you, and many blessings.